What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Untold Stories Athlete Edition. My name is Briana Garcia, and if you're new here, welcome. Just basically what I do is I interview Baylor student athletes, and we go over their journey, their story in their life, whether that be about faith, family, friends, academics, even their sport, whatever they want to talk about. It just gives them a platform to share their story with others around. So yeah, we're on episode 9, which is, I feel like I say this all the time. It's just crazy. I've actually lost count of how many episodes I've done, but I'm super excited for this guest. Her name is Bayley Humphrey. Bayley is on the Acrobatics and Tumbling team, and she is from Chandler, Arizona, and she's studying health studies. Alrighty, so Bayley is a base. That's her position on the Acrobatics and Tumbling team. And so going into some of her accolades, in high school, she was named Level 7 Athlete of the Year by USA Illusions coaches. She qualified for the Acrobatic Gymnastics National Championship as a base, and she was the team captain for Aspire Acrobatics team. In 2020, she attended Mesa Community College, and in 2021, she was academic All Big 12 rookie team. She competed in 2 meets in the 2021 season before she had a suffering and season-ending injury, and she was named Freshman of the Week on, I think, her first competition. So yes, definitely super excited to get to know her story. And yeah, if you don't know any of the terms I've mentioned, Bayley's definitely going to be talking about it throughout the podcast. Alrighty, so yes, thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited for you to share your story. So yeah, so my first question, like I said, whenever I'm interviewing people, is why you chose Baylor.
So I chose Baylor. So I was looking at acrobatics and tumbling to figure out what school I wanted to go to. And so I went on an official visit here at Baylor, and the minute I walked on the campus, I was like, this is where I need to be, because I'm also a pre-med. So when I was also researching the pre-med program, I was like, yeah, I feel like I could further my knowledge, in the medical field, through Baylor while doing acrobatics and tumbling. And I just love the community, and I love everybody here. So I was like, Baylor is my home.
Yeah, I feel like I hear that a lot. Right when people step foot on Baylor, they're like,
yes,
this is it.
The campus and everything. I was walking around and I was telling my mom, because my mom was with me, and I was like, this is my second home.
Yeah, and I feel like academics too is a big part of why people choose Baylor too. Yeah. So I did not know you were pre-med, because on your profile it says health science studies. So that's really impressive.
Thank you.
So yeah, so in your bio it talks about how you attended a community college at first. So can you talk about kind of that transition going into a bigger university?
Yeah, so I committed to my club team for acro for 2 years. And so that ran a year after my senior year. And so I decided to do community college to get some transfer credits, and it actually prepared me a lot for college, actually, just because I got to be in a more college-based classroom, and the use of Canvas and stuff. And I was like, okay, I feel like this will prepare me for more of a bigger university. I was a little overwhelmed coming to a university just because it is bigger, and you're on your own. I had my parents and everyone back there. So, but yeah, it definitely helped me transition school-wise, I feel to a bigger environment.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And just getting into acrobatics and tumbling. Also, if you hear me reference A&T or acro, it's just shorter. I know y'all probably call it that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, how did you get into acrobatics and tumbling?
Okay, so I started gymnastics when I was 7, the vault, the bars, the beam, and the floor. And I did it up until my senior year. And then when I got to my senior year, I was kind of I don't want to do this type of gymnastics anymore. I was just kind of burnt out, but I didn't want to stop being an athlete, because I was an athlete my whole life, and I love, working out and stuff. And so I was talking to a friend, and she was like, hey, you should come see this club team that does acrobatic gymnastics. It's still a gymnastics, but different. And I was like, okay. So I went into their gym and I watched her practice, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was insane. They were stacking people on top of each other, and they were throwing them and catching. And I was like, I want to do this. I feel like to challenge myself, I was like, I want to do something different. So I was like, okay, for my senior year, I'll do this. And I actually really got into it with my partner and everything. And I was like, wow. So then I committed, and then I was I found out through a friend you can do it in college, and I was like, no way. So then I looked up videos of competitions of acrobatics and tumbling, and I was like, I want to do that.
Wow. So you just, how old are you?
I'm 20.
Okay, so you got into this 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So I feel I hear a lot of athletes say how you started so young with gymnastics, you got burnt out. Do you think starting acrobatics gymnastics at an older age has helped you be more, have more motivation whenever you're competing?
Oh yeah, and what I love about acrobatics and tumbling is like no matter what background you come from, you're constantly learning new things. And I think that's so cool because like even at 20 years old, you're learning like from a new different type of sport, if that makes sense. Like the background of cheer and like TNT and even gymnastics still, like everyone's learning new things all the time. And I think that's so awesome.
No, I think that's really cool too. Do you think, let's say another one of your teammates comes from like a cheer background. Do you think that's harder to transition into acrobatics and tumbling rather than with you being in acrobatics gymnastics?
I feel like it's kind of a challenge for everybody just because it is like, a different sport and like we have to like learn new things all together. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like it's kind of equal in that sense just because like we're all coming to a new sport by ourselves. Like it's all new. So.
Yeah. Is there any like clubs that are acrobatics and tumbling specifically?
I actually just found this out. I think yes. I believe that there are like some club teams that are doing acrobatics and tumbling. I don't know a lot of knowledge on it, but yeah, I think so.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Bayley earlier. There's like a picture of her in like social media, and she's doing this like back bend, and she has one leg up, and she's holding a girl. Like that's crazy to me. And like even when y'all compete, I mean, you're doing back bends, and you have like two girls on top of you.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's amazing that you were into acrobatics gymnastics and transferred to Baylor to compete with that. I mean, and it was awesome. Like I love watching y'all compete. So do you do any tumbling as well?
I did my freshman year, but then after I tore my Achilles, my recovery, like in terms of basing, was way faster than tumbling, just because of how like the tendon is. And so I've slowly kind of started my tumbling stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. I mean, I definitely talked about that in your intro. You had a season-ending injury. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I tore my Achilles, and it happened like after my like second meet, I think. Yeah, after my second meet, and I was so devastated because like we were doing really good and starting to like get our groove, and I got hurt, and I was just so sad because I was a freshman, and I was like, oh, like. It's just devastating. But however, like this injury taught me so many things. Like taught me to just be grateful that I'm there and, how exciting it is to be out there on the floor. And it's just like, it just has taught me so many things.
Yeah. I mean, tearing your Achilles, I mean, how long was the recovery?
I would say in total is probably about like 9 months.
Yeah. And how do you think you're able to overcome that situation?
Definitely with a lot of support from my teammates, my coaches, my family. Everybody got me through it, and my trainers and everybody. Having a support system really got me through the injury for sure.
Yeah, and I know with your sport, y'all have a routine, right? So whenever you got hurt, was it hard to have someone else like come and take your place in that routine? Or is there someone that's like a backup to you that y'all can put in?
Oh, our team is so deep. So like we were just able to just go right through it and just work out. That's what's so cool about like our team is like we're so deep, like we can just plug in where we need to.
Yeah. So now you're not really doing any tumbling or anything. You're just a base.
Yeah, mostly I'm doing my basing, and I'm slowly working on my tumbling recovery, but really prioritizing like just my basing stuff.
Yeah. What do you think? What was something that like you constantly told yourself whenever you were hurt?
When I was hurt, one thing I was constantly telling myself is like, there's a plan. Yeah. And like I just have to like trust in it, and like I have the best teammates and support system around me, and like I will get through it and do it for them.
Yeah, and I know, didn't like two other people at that practice when you got hurt as well? Wasn't that like a practice like a ton of people got hurt?
Yes.
Okay, I heard about that practice, and I feel like with y'all sport, injuries come a good amount, right? So how is that like when you're missing other teammates from getting hurt and you're in competition season? Like how was that for the team?
It like teaches you to definitely be strong and to just like have faith and trust in each other. And I think that's really important. So like, a lot of injuries happen all the time. And I just feel like it's one of those like stepping stones of like, okay, like no matter what happens, we need to have each other's backs and like trust each other and have faith in each other and just do what we do.
Yeah. And has there ever been like any more complications at all with your Achilles?
No, it's been going good. I mean, there's definitely good days and bad days. Like the weather, when it's cold, yes. I'm like, okay. But other than that, no, she's hanging in there.
Well, that's awesome. I love hearing that. I think that's great that you were able to overcome that and stay positive and trust people to support you. So that's great. But yeah, so I kind of want to get into this is kind of random, like the weightlifting side of acrobatics and tumbling. Cause I know like y'all are in the weight room for a long time. And I'm on the track and field team. And whenever we lift, acrobatics and tumbling comes in like right after us. And I always like hear that y'all are there for so long. So can you kind of explain, like, especially with your position being a base, like how important that is in competing?
Oh yeah, like the weight room is definitely where we like get our strength and like get our muscle tone and everything to like be able to do what we do in practice. Like everything starts with the weight room. Like, you know, our strength, conditioning, consistency, like it all starts in the weight room.
So did you lift prior coming to Baylor?
I had never lifted actually before I came here. I had no knowledge of lifting, like nothing.
Wow.
I would occasionally like lift like a, you know, like a dumbbell, but other than that, no, I have never lifted till I got here.
So how do you think, like when you came to Baylor and you started lifting, were you able to get adjusted to it easily?
Yeah, at the beginning I was actually kind of nervous because it's not something I've never done before. So I was like, oh, like I'm a little nervous, but like with like the speed of everything we did, I was able to like get in the groove, you know? So like now in my sophomore year, I'm like, okay, like I kind of know what to expect. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. Never lifted before I got here.
Wow. I mean, especially in your sport where you've always, for the past like 3 years, you've been lifting girls. I would think you would be lifting, but yeah, I mean, that's incredible. And have you like seen like differences in like your strength as you've like lifted the past 2 years?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the weight room is definitely where like we get, you know, our power and stuff. So I have for sure seen a difference.
Well, I think that's awesome. Seriously. And so you were talking about pre-med. How was that with being a student athlete, having like those pre-med classes and stuff?
It's definitely hard.
Yeah.
Like pre-med in itself is very difficult, but like with the goals I want to achieve, I definitely just have to constantly think like it's all worth it in the end.
Yeah. So what do you want to do after you graduate? You want to go to med school, of course.
Yeah, some people actually freak out when I say this, but I do want to go to med school because I actually want to be a medical examiner.
Wow.
And like do autopsies and like figure out how people died, because like I find it really incredible that the human body can tell you things even when it's no longer living.
Yeah.
It can like tell you a story, and I feel like it's really important to be like the voice of somebody who like can't speak for themselves.
I did not know you had to go to medical school for that.
Yeah.
Wow. Have you ever listened to Crime Junkie?
Yeah.
My favorite part is when they have the autopsy. I love that. So I think that's super cool. I feel like I've never heard anybody want to get into that field. So I think that's incredible, especially like, have you learned things about yourself, like being a student athlete and having that major and like all that pressure of like academics and your sport?
Yeah, like being a student athlete definitely has taught me so many things, such as like, you know, like dedication, like time management, like definitely very important. And I feel like that's really important, especially in pre-med, just because the class loads are so much, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's crazy. And so I know you're from Arizona, and I saw that you have 2 brothers?
Yes, 2 brothers, one sister.
So can you talk about like the family aspect? Because that's a pretty big family.
Yeah, so I'm the oldest,
Wow.
actually, and I'm probably gonna be the shortest. Yeah, so my brother is Zach, and he's 18, and he's 6'7".
Wow.
And then it goes my sister, she's 15, and she's like 1 inch taller than me. And then it's my brother, Caleb, and he's like 12, and he's like already at my eyebrow. So I'm kind of just like, ah.
That's crazy.
So yeah, we're definitely loud.
Yeah?
Definitely loud family, very sarcastic, very like unfiltered. Like I love them so much.
Yeah. And how has it been, you know, being in Texas and them all the way in Arizona?
Yeah, it actually hasn't been as bad as I thought. Like we have like a really close relationship, so like, you know, it's definitely nice to like FaceTime them every once in a while and like text them, and you know, it's good. And like when I go home, like, you know, we hang out and stuff, and then when it's time to go, it's like, all right, see you soon.
Yeah, well, that's good, especially like you being the oldest, like you kind of set the bar for your siblings, you know?
Yeah.
Do any of your siblings play any sports?
No.
What?
They are not into sports at all.
Wow.
Yeah, my brother, the one who's 6'7", wants to do like something with like the military.
Okay.
And my sister is actually into like art
Okay.
and school. So we're all kind of different.
Yeah, no, I love
Yeah.
that. It definitely adds character in a family and
Yeah.
things like that. So did your parents do any sports?
Yes.
Okay.
My dad did track.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
he was really good at track. And then my mom did volleyball and tennis.
Gotcha.
So,
So who's really tall? And like, is your dad super tall?
yes,
Okay.
6'3", and then my grandpa, on his side is 6'6".
Okay, that's where I say I get my height from.
Yes.
I say I get it from my grandparents.
Yes,
not
it's
my
more
parents.
my grandparents.
Well, that is so cool. I love that. And I think that's so cool that you have a big family. And like I said, like you're the oldest and, you know, your siblings probably look up to you for inspiration. But do they ever get to come to any of your meets?
They haven't come yet, but I'm hoping they do this year sometime.
I know.
So.
I know the flight's not very
Yeah.
close. And like most of the teams y'all compete against. So acrobatics and tumbling, there's not a ton of teams at a university, right? So most of y'all's teams are pretty spread out, right?
Yeah, I think there's 39 schools, I think, that have it.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure, but yeah, there's a lot.
Okay. And y'all's season is February to like April.
Yep.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
For track, it's like January to June. It's
Really?
like 6 months. Y'all have the best.
Yes, it's like beginning of February, like towards the end of April, I believe.
Yeah, and like what does preseason look like for y'all?
Lots of so like in the fall, definitely like more in the weight room.
Yeah.
For sure. And like lots of more like practice and like getting stuff together. And then like preseason is more like, you know, like fine tuning it up and like cleaning and just getting consistent for sure.
Okay, so in preseason, do y'all like figure out the routine and everything? And then like you said in season, I mean, y'all are traveling, y'all are competing,
Right.
so just making those little tweaks.
Yeah, just to make sure we're like consistent for
And
sure.
everything like that. Wow, that is so cool. I think like if someone came up to you and they were like, what is acrobatics and tumbling? What would you say?
I would say acrobatics and tumbling is like where a bunch of different backgrounds come together. So like cheer, TNT, gymnastics, acro, we all come together to like form these different types of skills that are like kind of crazy, like the pyramids, you know, where like there's 3 people on top of each other.
Literally.
Or like tosses, you know, and stuff like that. So I would just say like just a bunch of different backgrounds coming together, you know, for a female sport.
And what do you think's like the hardest thing that you've learned in this sport?
That's a good question.
Or something that's like that you didn't expect coming into that was really hard that you had to overcome?
I would say probably, honestly, kind of just all of it because it's so like different, you know what I mean? And like I said before, like we all are learning it kind of together.
Yeah.
So just like piece by piece, like all of it is unique in its own way.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I think it's so incredible that y'all, like you said, all come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a fresh thing for many of y'all, and y'all can help each other
Exactly.
get through it. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I love it because it's a team unit.
Yeah.
You know, like you can't do it on your own, and I love that because it's just like a team aspect and like everybody comes together just as one. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I love the ending whenever y'all do like the dance and they always like pound the
Sick
ground and they'll be
'em.
like sick 'em, and the energy is just amazing. Y'all's
Yes.
sport is definitely probably one of my favorite sports to watch. It's just like you're just like how do they do these flips on, they don't have like a spring floor, like that's just crazy to me. But I mean, I think it's awesome that, you know, you went through a really tough injury at a time when you were competing and you were able to learn to be patient and overcome things. So I'm really excited for y'all that y'all are in season. I can't wait to watch y'all, and I hope the listeners or the watchers are able to go and watch. So yeah. So for the last segment of my podcast, I go through questions.
Okay.
So let's see. Okay. Some of their names are weird. So 7 Mile Beach Bob, he asked, what makes Coach Mulkey so successful? And I know Coach Mulkey, I think she created acrobatics and tumbling, right? Which, who creates a sport? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, what makes her so successful, do you think?
Because honestly, because she cares about us so much. Like she's like my mom away from my real mom. Like I'm getting like emotional talking about her because like she has like faith in us, and it's just like really cool to see. And like no matter what, she always has our backs like to the end. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's super important for coaches not just to be your coach, but also like a mentor or
Yes.
even like a parent. Like how you said, like your mom's not around all the
Right.
time. And sometimes I think coaches just want to coach you.
And I feel like I can just go to her with anything. And I think that's so important, you know,
Yeah.
with that relationship. And she just always has our backs.
Yeah. And how many girls are on the team?
52, I think.
Exactly. And she has to build relationships with all those people. And
And it's awesome.
And that's amazing that she can do that. Wow. Now I want to meet her. Alrighty. So you might know who this guy is. His name's T-Rex.
Yes,
Yes,
I've heard
one
of
with
him.
the
Yeah.
mask.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
No, he actually asked a question. He said, "What is the adjustment like for competitive cheer and gymnastics to an acro and tumbling?" Also, he said, "What is your leg day routine?" I know we touched on what the adjustments are like, but if there is anything else you wanted to touch on.
I would just continue to say, like, it's all, like, new for all of us, you know? And it's just, like, we're all learning new things when we come to the sport just because it's new. You know what I mean? For all of us. So I think that's...
And what's your leg day routine?
Just whatever we do in the weight room.
Y'all lift 3 times a week?
Yeah, 3 times a week in the fall, and then in season, 2 times a week.
Okay, I thought y'all lifted like 4 times in preseason because I swear I see y'all in there all the time. Alrighty, so Ashley Hodge asked, "Is it hard to keep chemistry if athletes are missing time due to injuries?"
Like chemistry, like as a team.
Yeah.
I actually think it makes us stronger.
Really?
You know? Yeah, I think like, you know, when injuries happen and all these things, like it makes a team stronger because you have to go through hardships like together. And I think that's really important because as a unit, you're going through it together and not by yourself. And I think it makes you stronger in our relationship when each other is stronger. So
That's so good. I feel like sometimes certain teams or sports, like when people get hurt, like I've been hurt sometimes and I feel like I kind of just like get shut out. But that's so good that y'all can build each other up and think that's incredible, honestly. Yeah. Female athletes, man, y'all are awesome.
Like when I got hurt, like they were my biggest support system.
Wow.
And that's what got me through it. So.
That's amazing. That is awesome. Alrighty, so this question is actually from my mom. Shout out to my mom. She asked, how are like the skills in the stunt groups like scored during competition? And I know this might be kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, I don't really know scoring. If I'm gonna be completely honest, like it's based on so many different things, I think. Like, you know, like form, steps, you know, just stuff like that. I really don't know the scoring system.
So let's say if you're in a stunt and you have a girl, you're holding her and she's like balancing. If she even like budges a little bit or when y'all come down and she lands and like steps back, is that like points taken off or like, are they that critical?
I would, yeah, just cause like steps are counted and like, you know, if it's kind of wobbly, it's like, and then like if you don't hold for a certain amount of time, like stuff like that. Yeah.
And is scoring counted like with difficulty?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, like there's like start values.
Okay.
So like
Perfect.
There's like certain things like start like out of 10, something start at like 995. So there's definitely difficulty like incorporated in it.
Gotcha.
Like that's the start values where like it starts at and then kind of goes from there.
Is there some teams that most of their start values are already lower than y'all?
I would say like it just depends on like what is kind of like going on. Do you know what I mean? Like it just depends. Like some tumbling passes like are 10, some like aren't. Some acros are 10, some aren't. So it just depends.
I think it's actually kind of good that you don't really know the scoring.
Yeah,
because I feel like you're just there just to compete.
Yeah,
like,
it actually makes it more fun.
Yeah,
because like you know you're kind of like you somewhat know like some deductions like like I stepped, so like that's whatever it is. But it makes it more fun because you're kind of like just doing what I got to do.
I love it. What do you think about when you're basing a flyer?
Honestly, just squeezing everything I have. I don't think at all. I just like think squeeze everything and to just try to breathe.
Yeah. Do you have like really good connections with the girls that you base with?
Yeah, because you have to create that intimate like relationship with each other of like trusting each other because you're like you're holding on to each other and like throwing them in the air and catching them, and that's like you have to like create like that trust for sure.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so for the last question, it's actually going to be from me, because I feel like I always want to know this about student athletes. What's like your go-to meal before you compete? Do you have anything specific?
I definitely love meat.
Okay.
For sure. So like definitely like a big, nice piece of meat. And like, I'll add like potatoes and like asparagus. I love asparagus.
Okay.
And like probably like a salad. But yeah, it has to have a lot of meat.
Okay. Like beef or like chicken?
Chicken, steak.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah.
I'm a pasta girl. I like
really?
I like
pasta.
Just for some carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I loved getting to know your story with everything, with your injury, like how you got into acrobatics and tumbling. I mean, I think it's crazy that you got into acrobatics at 18 and you're phenomenal. I can't wait to watch you compete and watch the team. They're actually going against Oregon this weekend, and Oregon are they ranked second and y'all are number 1?
I don't remember the rankings.
I love how you don't know. I think
I know,
that's
I'm
good.
sorry. I really don't know
I think
that
that's
much.
great. But I'm excited for y'all because I
Okay.
know like whenever y'all are head to head against Oregon, it's a show. But yeah, so guys, thank you. Like I said, thank you again for being here. If y'all want to listen or watch the podcast, you can go on Spotify at the Untold Stories Athlete Edition and on YouTube with the same handle. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.